everyone, we're going to do a band session today. So all you're going to need for this is your purple band, or if you've got a different colour band at home, that's absolutely fine to use, and a mat or something comfortable to lay on the floor. If you want to use a pillow for underneath your head at any point, please feel free to grab a pillow or something comfortable to prop your neck up as well if you need it. We're going to start the session with some standing exercises. So we're going to start by taking the band into the hands, and we're going to take the feet into a V position, so that Pilates V stance. I'm holding my band roughly about the centre, just bringing it down by my thighs to begin with, roll my shoulders back, let my chest open wide, and just take a couple of breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And I can just feel my ribs expanding and opening, my lungs filling up as I get more air into my body. And then as I take my next breath, I'm going to allow my arms to float up. As I breathe out, I'm going to bring them overhead. As I stay overhead here, I'm going to bend into knees into a little V, and then I'm going to breathe out to come all the way back down. So it's a breath in, a breath out, a breath in, a breath out, a breath in, and a breath out. And I'm just going to go for a couple more. So I'm mobilising through the shoulders, opening up through my hips as I come into this externally rotated position. And I'm going to go one more here. Coming up into that little V and all the way back down. Now next time I'm going to stay at the top, floating the arms up. I'm going to take a little side bend over, come back to the centre and release the arms down. Going again, arms floating up, a little side bend over, back to centre and release. And I'm going to do just one more on each side. As the arms are floating up, I'm breathing in, really filling my lungs up, opening my ribs, finding more space and width as I take that side bend. And I'm going to go one more here, arms up, over, back to centre and lower. Good. Now from here I'm going to lift my heels, feel my band stretching across my thighs, and then release, bring the arms back to centre. So it's a little renovate up, rolling across the balls of my feet, and arms float back. As the band comes across the thighs, I can feel my shoulders widening and almost as if the arms are going slightly behind me. So I'm getting that expansion and opening through the front of the chest. As I lift my heels, they're coming away from each other, but I'm really focusing on bringing the heels back together as I come back down again. I'm just going to go for two more here. And last one. I'm going to float the arms up. I'm going to take the band a little wider at the top, so widen my grip. I'm going to stretch the band so it comes behind the body, bringing the arms up, so I'm getting that circular movement now through my shoulders. If you can see, I've got much more slack on the band. I've widened my grip so it's more loose in the middle. So I'm going again, breathing in, breathing out, arms up, and coming all the way back down. I'm keeping my wrists long. I can feel my heels grounding down into the floor. My hips are still in that externally rotated position, but I'm nice and square forwards. My shoulders and my chest is open. Coming up. Crown of my head is reaching to the ceiling as I really let some mobility come into the shoulders here. Now just be careful when you're doing this one, you don't start to jut your head forwards to allow those arms to come behind. I'm going to make this my last one. Bringing the arms in front. I'm going to stop when the arms come about centre of the body. Again, I'm going to make the grip a little bit narrower, and I'm just going to do a few little pulls. So I'm going to think about breathing out as I pull to really encourage my belly to draw in, my ribs to come in close towards me, and to really engage those abdominals. Breath out as we feel that effort coming through the centre. I'm going to do about 8 here. Going for 2 more. And I'll lower the arms down. Again, I'm going to loosen off a little bit, get a little bit more slack in the centre, and I'm just going to have a little stretch. So I'm going to float my arms up. I'm going to take my arms in a diagonal, really feeling again that the chest is opening, the arms are coming behind, and then I'm bringing them back to centre. So I'm really feeling the length coming through the front of the chest, everything opening up to create a little bit more expansion in the top of the body. I can take it wide, I can take it more down and up. Just changing the position every time you take that little stretch. I'm going to do about 2 more, taking it wide and then releasing back to centre. I'm going to let my arms slowly come down. I'm going to turn my heels out in line with my toes, and then from here I'm going to put my band down onto the floor. So I'm going to take the band under one foot. I'm going to turn side on actually so you can see. And I'm going to take a split stance. I've got my left foot forwards here and my right foot back. So my pelvis is separated in 2 halves. I'm going to bend more into my front knee, and I'm going to really feel my back heel grounding down into the floor. I like to think of a drawing pin almost pushing into the mat. I'm going to take a little lean forwards with my spine. So my spine is long, but I'm on that long diagonal stance. And then from here I'm going to row the arms up, reaching the elbows back and behind and lowering the arms down. So I'm rowing up and release. Now I'm using the out breath on my effort as the arms come up. I'm reaching my elbows behind me, keeping them nice and close to the body. And I'm going for about 8. I'm getting a nice stretch through my calf as I do, and using that core to help as I breathe out. I'm going to make this the last one. Now from here, I'm going to go into little pumps. So think of the 100, pumping the arms back into that pulsed breath. You can feel the back of my arms working, still feeling that stretch coming through the centre and through the back of the leg. Keep it going. I'm going for about 50. Making this the last 10. And rest. Well done. I'm going to release the band from the foot, and I'm going to turn around to the other side. So I'm now taking my right foot onto the band, my left foot is back, bending into the front knee so I can feel that nice calf stretch through the back leg. Again, think of that heel really pressing into the mat, that drawing pin pressing through. I'm taking that slight lean forwards, and then I'm going to go to the row on this side. Elbows back. Using the out breath. Now I'm keeping my neck long. I'm looking in front of my foot, not creaking my neck down so I'm looking at my foot. Final 2. And then I'm going to go into those little pumps on this side. So palms facing back, off we go, pump. Pulsing that breath. Eight more. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and rest. Well done. Stepping off of the band, come back to face towards the front. We're going to go into our roll down from here. So I'm just lightly holding the band in each side, feet about hip width apart, and then from here I'm going to take a breath in, reaching the crown of my head to the ceiling. Exhale, rounding the spine forward. So I'm draping over that little white fence in front of me, softening through the back of the knees if I need to, drawing my ribs in and up until I come into my roll down. From here I'm going to bend into the knees, and I'm then going to come down onto my mat. Brilliant. If you need to have a little drink at any point, have a little drink in between. And then from here I'm going to turn and lay down onto the mat. So I'm going to come into my supine position now. So I'm going to rest down here. I'm going to take the band and I'm going to place it around both of my feet. So I've got my right foot in. When you feel ready, then float the left foot up. Feet are coming together. And you can see now I've got one hand onto each side of the band. My legs are in a tabletop position. My knees are over the hips. I want you to check in on your pelvis. Just notice whether you're tipping it back into the mat or whether you're tipping it forwards and you've got a huge arc at your back. See if you can try and come into that natural curve of the spine here. I'm keeping my elbows nice and close, And I'm making sure that I'm not hunching my shoulders up as I'm holding onto that band. I'm trying to stay wide and open through the chest into the floor. From here, I'm going to push through the heels, reach the legs out to a long diagonal. Now, if this is too challenging for anybody, having both legs in, you can do single leg at a time. So you can pause the video to do the second leg, or you can just do half the repetitions and change leg 3. So I'm reaching the legs long and folding back in. You'll see every time I reach the legs long, I'm on a long diagonal, my hips are opening. As I fold the knees back in, I'm coming more into a hip flexion. Using the breath out as I reach the legs long, as we're in a lovely long extended lever, so it's more challenge on the abdominals when the legs are reaching away. And I'm going to go for about 3 more, about 8 to 10. And again, reach. And 1 more here. Now I've done this version with the head down, and you can continue to repeat this set if you want to. I'm now going to add a little bit of challenge by lifting my head, neck and shoulders up. So I'm going to take a breath in as I come into my chest lift. Exhale, rolling up. Now as I reach the legs long, I'm going to see if I can reach the arms as well. And then I'm going to fold back in. Okay, so arms reach, legs reach. This is quite a tight band for me. So reaching overhead and rolling back in. And again, that reach and rolling back in. And I'm going to go for 3 more. And for 2. And for 1 more. Rolling all the way back in. Arms coming down by my sides. Band dropping to the floor. And 100. Pump. 2, 3, 4, 5. And out. 2, 3, 4, 5. More challenge. 2, 3, 5. And out. 2, 3, 5. And in. 2, 3, 4. And out. 2, 3, 4. So you can keep the legs extended, or you can bend them in and out, or you can stay one or the other. 2, 3, 5 and out. 2, 4, 5 and in. 4, 5 and out. 2, 4, 5 and in. 2, 4, 5 and out. 2, 4, 5. 2 more. 2, 4, 5 and out. 2, 4, 5. Reach those fingertips long. 5 and out. 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm taking my hands up, placing them behind my head, lowering down to the floor and releasing 1 leg at a time. Well done. Have a full stretch all the way through. So I'm nice and warm now through my centre. My legs are active from the work that we've done already. I'm going to reach forwards to just take my band. And then from here, I'm going to bring the band around 1 foot. So just as we did a moment ago with the single leg in the band, or the double leg, sorry, in the band, I'm taking 1 foot in. My elbows are nice and close. I'm going to reach the leg up, open up through to the back of the ceiling. And then from there, I'm just going to reach off. And again, just give it a nice little stretch through. And then release off. Let's go 1 more here, a nice stretch through. And then release off. Bring the legs down together, so the knees are together. You can release the band for a second. They can still stay around the foot. I'm just going to roll the knees over to one side, widening out through my arms. So my shoulders are staying connected into the floor, but my hips are now rolling to the side. My pelvis is coming with me. I'm going to roll back to centre and then go to the other side, rolling across the back of the pelvis. Coming back to centre. So I'm going into that little side to side. Just starting to lift my hip away from the floor as I roll back, my ribs come into contact first, and then my hip comes back into contact as the back of my pelvis comes back to level. I'm going to go just 1 more on each side. Now from here I'm going to reach down to grab that band again, open up through the back of the knee. Now I've got my opposite leg bent. To add more challenge, I'm going to take it out to straight, but if you need to, you can keep that bent as well. I'm going to allow the leg to come out to the side. It's going to swing down and around, and then it's going to come across the midline of the body, just as I did in that side to side. The hips are going to roll, and then I'm going to bring it back around up to the centre. Now as I come back through centre, my pelvis stays level. As the leg goes out, hips shining up to the ceiling. The leg circles down and around, mobilising through the hip socket. The leg swings across the midline, the hip peels away, ribs come with, and the leg comes back up to the ceiling. And I'm going to do 2 more like that. So we stay in the center as the leg comes across, the hips start to roll. And I'm going to go 1 more in this direction. Now really use that out breath as you swing the leg. Now we're going to go the other way. So the leg's going to come across the midline of the body. My hips roll. As the leg then swings down and around, I come through center. My pelvis stays quiet. My leg continues and I come back up to the ceiling. So the hips roll, the pelvis comes with me like that side to side motion. As I come back through center, pelvis stays connected to the floor. Leg continues to move. Thigh bone circling around in the hip socket. I'm going to go 2 more here. And I'm going to make this the last one. Leg comes across, hip rolls, and back up through the center. Well done. From here, I'm just going to bend the leg in for a second. I'm going to slide the opposite leg back in, so I'm back in that semi-supine position. I'm then going to take a stretch, again, of the leg up to the ceiling. Now from here, I'm going to go into my bridge. So this is a little bit more challenging when you're holding the leg into the band. I'm going to tip my pelvis back, so I'm now imprinting into the floor. I'm going to reach the kneecap forward, so I'm coming up into a single leg bridge. Now, if this is too much, you can keep the pelvis down and you can do this with the pelvis onto the floor. I'm going to reach the leg down to the floor and pick it back up. So it's a long reach, opening the hip, picking it back up. I'm pointing the toe as I reach, I'm flexing the heel as I come back. 2 more, point and flex. Point and flex. Slowly rolling the spine back into the floor and releasing the leg down. Well done. So as I said, if it's too much there, you just do this version with the pelvis down. I'm going to change the feet now. So I'm going to roll in, change the foot that is in the band, reaching up to the ceiling. We're just going to go for that little stretch now on the left side. So I'm bending the knee in and sending it back up to the ceiling. Bending in and back up to the ceiling, having a nice little hamstring stretch. You can bring the leg closer towards you if that stretch feels nice. Now from here, the opposite leg is going to reach away. I'm going to go into that leg circles 2 again. So I'm starting with the leg moving away from the body. The body stays nice and quiet, nothing changes. The leg moves around, the thigh bone turns in the hip socket. The leg comes across the midline as the hips roll away, and then the leg comes back up towards the sky. So I'm using an in-breath as I move, but an out-breath to let go. Try not to hang on to that hip flexor too much. Let it go. Okay, taking it out. Swinging that leg around, rolling the hips with you. And again, out. Swing the leg around and back to center. Now let's reverse it. It goes across the body first as the hips roll, peeling away from the floor. So I've got that rotation into my lower back. The leg swings around. As I come through center, I stabilize my pelvis. I come back through the center. Again, leg comes across, pelvis rolls. Leg comes down through the center. Hip shine to the ceiling, leg continues and back up to the sky. Now stay wide in that chest. Try not to grip too much. Try not to tighten up the shoulders. We're going to go 1 more. Going across, swinging the leg down and around and back to the sky. Well done. Release the leg off. Slide the other leg in and we're going to go into the bridge on this side. So remember, you don't have to lift the pelvis, modify by keeping it down. I'm going to open the leg up to the ceiling. I'm going to roll my pelvis back, feeling that space at the lower back lessens. And then from here, reaching my crown and my head behind me, kneecap forwards, I roll up into my single leg bridge, really opening up through the front of that hip. Now I send the leg down, point the toe, and pick it back up. And pick it back up. And pick it back up. I'm going for 5. And pick it back up. Last one. Picking it back up. Slowly rolling my spine back down into the floor. And folding the knee in. Well done. So let's release the band from the feet. I'm going to push onto my side and press up. And then from here I'm going to make a little knot in my band. I'm going to sit tall. I'm going to wrap it around my ankles and I'm going to tie it at the front. So if you've got a loop band as well as one of these bands, you could use your loop band here instead. Saves having to do all this messing around tying the knots. But if you don't have a loop band, then just tie your band in the centre. So it's up to you how tight you want to do it. Depends how hard you want to work with those legs. But I'm going to just tie mine up a couple of times so I've not got a long band draping down and it's not going to get in the way anywhere. So you can see I've made a nice knot here. I'm then going to lay down onto my belly with the band around my ankles. So I'm laying down here. I'm going to bring my arms underneath my forehead and I'm just going to notice where my hips are. Okay, so you can see I'm just doing a little rock from side to side to get comfortable. I can feel that my pubic bone is down into the mat, but it's not pressing too heavy. And I can feel the front of my hips to the floor, but again, that they're not just really pressing in. I would be able to maybe get a little bit of a fingertip underneath there, so they're a little bit lighter. My head can rest down now into my hands, and my legs are just reaching behind me. Now from here, I'm going to go into my little single leg kick. I'm telling you to rest your head down, but I'm going to keep mine up just so I can talk to you. So, draw the belly up. Try not to just let the belly flake out. Remember that little X that we like to talk about in the centre? I want you to draw that X away from the floor, not just let it really press into the mat. So we're not burning that mark into it, we're just letting that little X almost hover onto the mat in front of you. Now from here, I'm going to pick up my right leg and I'm going to reach it behind me, feeling a little bit of resistance as I do, and then pop it back down into the mat. And then the same on the left side, picking it up and popping it back down. I'm using my out breath as I float my leg to really engage my core a little bit more and engage through the back of the glute. And what I want you to feel is that the top of the leg is kind of working to lift away from the floor, but that you're not floating the leg too high, okay? The kneecap lifts, the lower leg lifts, but you can still feel a little bit of contact of the front of the thigh into the mat. I'm going to do one more on each side. So I'm going to do one more on my right, breathing out, and one more on my left. And then from here I'm going to go into a few little doubles. Lift and lower. Now if you feel any pinching in your lower back, then you've lifted your legs too high. Okay, try and keep nice and long through that lower back. Again, keep the head down as well so you're not overarching that lower back when you're doing this. I'm going to go just for two more. So I want you to really reach through the legs. How long and how open can you make the front of the hips? On the next one, you're going to stay up. And then from here, you're going to open and close, going into those little heel beats. Open and close. So feeling a little bit more harder work than normal because we've got the resistance of the band. Close, open, close, open, close. Really think about the opening coming from the top of the hips, almost as if you're clapping those inner thighs together. Open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close. Two more. Close and rest down. Well done. Sit back into a child's pose. Take a nice stretch to open out that lower back. It's very simple, but there's a lot of work there with the band, okay? So very small but effective. Take a nice breath. And then from here, you're going to roll yourself into an all fours position, coming up, still with the band around the ankles. You can see now that I've got a nice long back. My head is looking over my fingertips. I'm not arching my back here, and I'm not rounding it either. But if you want to go into a little cat-cow stretch here, because it feels nice, then do so. But when you've done so, I want you to come back into the centre, okay? Looking down towards the feet. I'm then going to tuck my toes under. And then from here, taking a breath in. As I breathe out, I'm going to float the knees off. Breathe in to lower. Breathe out to lift. Breathe in to lower. Breathe in to lift. Or breathe out to lift. And into lower. And I'm going to go one more. And release. Untuck the toes for a second just to give them a little bit of a rest. Now, if that's enough, you can continue there with the knee hovers. You can go for 4 more or 8 more if that sounds good to you. I'm going to add a little bit more challenge by going into my leg pull here. So I'm going to step out into a plank position using the resistance band for a little bit more challenge. If it's too much with the band, you can always remove the band and do it without. So I'm going to take my legs back into that long plank position here. I'm drawing my belly up, keeping my ribs nice and close towards me. Right leg lifts and centre. Left lifts right lifts and centre, left lifts and centre. I'm going to do 4 more, and 3, and 2, and 1. Knees down and take a nice child's pose stretch. I'm rolling all the way back in and we're done. Well done everyone. So a few more ideas there for some exercises with the band. You can do this whole routine back to front, or you can take pieces of the other classes that we've done. You can also add some of your other favourite band exercises in if you want to lengthen this a little bit. But well done, some new ones there for you. Remember, when the band is around the leg, they're very simple, but they're effective, okay? So if you do need a lighter band, or if you want a heavier band for more challenge, remember you can always use that if it feels good. Well done, and hopefully I'll see you within the next couple of weeks when we get back into the studio. Take care, see you later.